Hey everybody, Fishman here. Welcome to the video. Well, it's time to experiment with another filter. I really enjoyed how well the Java Moss is doing in that little bog filter. Not so much for its aesthetics, but for how well it was keeping the chemistry of the tank really nice. I mean, the fish in there are doing really well, and even the water is nice and crystal clear. And I was thinking, what else can I do with Java Moss in a filter style that I haven't tried before, and I can actually end up utilizing apparently Java Moss's ability to absorb an awful lot of wastes. So I thought the best contained system I can do for that is one of these box filters, but I had to make a couple of adjustments. First off, the lower chamber where the gravel is going to be a little smaller. I still need it because I want it to supply ballast, and I'm going to make a rather large upper chamber, and that upper chamber is going to be closer to the light, of course, and also where the water is going to initially come into the filter. So hopefully the Java Moss will do its thing, and well, like I said, this is an experiment, so we're going to give this a try, and we'll see what happens. Now, I'm in the process of doing a bunch of builds, so I didn't have a lot of time, and I didn't want to take the vise off of this and go through that whole process of taking these plates and clamping them right down to the bed of the mill. So I thought I'd do a little shortcut here, and I didn't clamp it down enough. I think most of the problem comes from the fact that my drill bits are getting a little bit dull, so I think I need to sharpen them. But what happens if you are more melting than cutting with these, you'll see here in a second, you end up with this buildup between the plates. And if I kept going with that, what would happen is it would start pushing the plate up all along, and the holes would end up being misaligned for starters, and we'll also get a lot of chipping and stuff. It's not a big deal at this point. I'm just going to use that one hole that I've already drilled, put the drill bit down through it, and it's going to act as a guide. And then of course that piece of pipe that's sitting there is also a guide. So between the two things, with everything set down, I can attach this. But I need more clamps. So what I'm going to do here is going to clamp it from both sides, and I guess this is probably not the best way of doing this, so I probably won't do it again. But I wanted to give it a try because it does take a fair amount of time to set up the other method. The other thing I don't like about this particular way of doing it, because I am going to have to flip this to do the other side, I don't like the way the holes lined up. It's not horrible. Sorry about this part here, by the way. I guess at some point I got my arm in the way and it changed the focus. But I wanted to show you this part here because it does go quickly once it's clamped down properly. But again, by the end of this, have a look at the hole pattern. Let me know what you think. It is not horrible, but it is not even either. So anyway, it was just one of those things. I didn't have the time, and it did a good enough job for this. I think this is just a test filter I want to try out, see if I can get reasonably good chemistry out of this. I am going to still take the time and put it in an aquarium that's established and get that gravel seeded properly. But then after that, I am going to give it its own aquarium with some fish, and we'll see how it does. I mean, it should be quite interesting. So the neat thing about this, or the bad thing about it, depending on your point of view, once you have it, like a few holes drilled, you can see I have to pop these apart. They do tend to end up sticking together, so when I did the flip around afterwards, I didn't have to worry about lining up the holes. No, there you go. The hole pattern is kind of, wonky, but it is good enough. So I'm going to prop these apart. I am going to weld the bottom of the two trays together to show you what that's, just actually give you something to look at while I'm talking. And then I am going to put together the other box off camera, and we will put this together, put it in an aquarium, and we'll see what it looks like. I mean, the holes aren't that bad. This one's probably the worst one. This is the top plate, but again, it's not important. Alright, so Java Moss is not the fastest growing plant, but it has an awful lot of surface area in it. I think we've discussed this a couple times already in the comment sections with a few people. There's an awful lot of material there and an awful lot of void volume for the water to go through. So when the water goes through this filter, it's not going to be at a very fast rate because it is a box filter, but it's going to have an awful lot of material that's going to go by. And Java Moss, again, as I said, is not a fast grower, but it's not a slow grower either. It's not like I'm using a Nubius or something. And I think it is has a good chance of doing quite well. Now, you notice that there's no pre-filter on this. I'm going to pretty much treat this as a purely biological filter, but I have found that Java Moss will also trap a fair amount of detritus. So we'll see how well that does on top of it. Now, the other thing is I am going to need to, first off, maximize the internal volume of this. So I am going to switch over the clamps for the lid to the outside, and I'm going to run the top box all the way to the top. And like I said, I'm just trying to give this as much space as possible. And I am going to put on a large diameter pipe in the middle of this that will act as a sleeve going over the standpipe for this filter. Again, it makes it easy to hang on to, so I am going to, I suspect, much more regularly need to clean this. Not so much for a cleaning point of view, I suppose, but more from a pruning point of view. I mean, I keep saying that Java Moss doesn't grow fast, but it is a fast enough grower that I will probably have to, at least once a month, well, we'll see, have to take this apart and prune it and possibly also rinse it. So this is the lift stack. This is a sleeve that, this is a sleeve that fits over the lift stack, and actually it's going all the way to the top, so it is going to need to be welded in place, and it will also keep the Java Moss from getting where it doesn't, where it shouldn't go. Now that I've added this sleeve to a couple of filters, I actually really like it. It is really convenient when it comes to cleaning. Even the regular box filters that don't really need to be cleaned that often, it is so nice just to be able to stick my hand in and grab a hold of that pipe and lift it straight up over and do what I need to do, and then just pop it back in place. Before this, I would actually have to take two hands and try and wedge them in there to get a bit of friction on the box itself and slide that out. This makes it a lot easier. I don't need to clean box filters that often. Most often the thing is, of course, the sponge at the top or whatever I'm using, polywool. That's pretty much what needs to be cleaned the most. But it is, like I said, it is nice to make things as convenient as possible. So I find any kind of maintenance you do that is annoying, I find I just don't do it. I don't know about you guys, but the simpler it is and the more convenient it is, the more likely I am to actually go ahead and do it. So this is a very straightforward weld up. And the nice thing about this pipe and the holes I've drilled now, there's only one friction fit, and that's the one on the bottom plate. And the actual positioning of this is not critical, and it actually doesn't really take that long. So it is actually, like I said, a much bigger, better improvement over the old style of doing these. And that's pretty much the entire build. Like I said, there's no pre-filter on this, and I'm maximizing the amount of volume that I can use for the Java Moss. And what we're going to do now is we're going to put this together, and you can see how well the sleeves work, which is really kind of nice. Like I said, it is one of the improvements on my original box filter design that I really do like. Even though these particular box filters are doing so much better than the other ones, like I said, it comes down to convenience. So this just slides in. That's going to have the gravel. This is the big one. It's going to have the Java Moss, and then you can see there is the brackets on the outside now, just to make a little bit extra room so I can maximize the space inside. And that's it. Put a lift stack, put a rigid air line in this, into the lift stack, put it in a tank, and we'll see how it goes. So down let me know in the comments below how well you think this is going to do. I mean, it's going to take some time before any kind of decisions or results are going to come from this, but it shouldn't do poorly. Well, it'd be interesting to see if it does better than all the other ones I've done so far. So there you go. Put it in a tank. Put some Java Moss in there. It's not staying in this tank, even though I think the white clouds really like all the bubbles and current. Might have something to do from where they come from. There you go. I'm going to move it over to an aquarium, let it get seated, and then we're going to give it its own aquarium, and we'll see how well it does. So thank you very much for watching. Leave lots of comments. Let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next video, and bye for now.